Hello, everyone, and welcome to Paranormal. I am your host, Rachel, and then we have.
Cows. Whoa, my screen even jumped into. I don't know what happens with my screen. Whatever. We'll see what
Who
happens
knows?
this time at the end. If we get balloons, if we get sparkles, if we get the thumbs up thing,
Who knows?
who
It's,
knows?
it's your phone. Who freaking
Yeah,
knows? I'm on a computer, so whatever. Oh my
just
god,
keeping us on our toes.
I know. Well, not much going on in our world. I shouldn't say not much. We're busy, but
I had the most challenging Saturday. I overcame my fears twice of going over some scary bridge and going down a spiral staircase.
yeah, that's true. You did. You
Win-win.
conquered your fear twice.
I did.
For those of you
And then
that
I had to drive back over that scary bridge in the dark. I'm
the
not sure which
sound.
was
It was the
scarier.
sound.
No, it was everything. It was the car
Yeah,
doing
that
this
too.
the whole time. The fact that it was really narrow and you could see everything.
Yeah. For those of you that don't follow the Paranormal Seekers, once this airs, it'll have been just a little over a week. But at the beginning or the end of June, we went to Ogdensburg, New York, to investigate the Frederick Remington Art Museum, and it was like amazing because we thought we just had a
Yeah.
museum, but it turns out we had a museum and two giant houses. It
Oh my gosh.
was great. We're gonna go back. I know we are.
We have to, because we were too bewildered to we
We were not
investigated, but
prepared.
we were like, whoa, yeah.
We were prepared for one building, not three. So we're definitely going to
Yeah.
have to go back.
Oh, I mean, well, before we'd even left, they were like, when are you coming back?
Yeah, they were.
So
It was great.
that's
And
good.
once this airs, we will have gone to another location, which would be Thamesville Old Town Hall Museum in Thamesville. So now we're on the other side of this province. So I'm hoping we get some really good evidence.
You're really robotic and choppy.
I know.
Which is great. But
I know.
I'm just saying, it's fine. It's
It
gonna make
shows
for
like this,
some
but when
really
it comes
great
through,
faces.
yeah, when it comes through, it's fine. Oh shit!
Oh.
Am I still on my work one? Oh no, I'm not. Okay, I'm good.
Your work will be
My
like,
shitty
what
ass.
happened with this?
Yeah. Anyways. Oh my gosh. So today's topic, maybe I'll talk slow so it can catch up, is the wonderful town of Minden,
Yay.
Ontario, which is
Yeah.
north. It's in Haliburton County.
The beautiful little place.
It is.
Like, beautiful.
It is. It's like the little tourist town. Super busy in the summer, quite dead in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
But we are going to talk about two locations. So the first location I'm going to talk a lot about, because Kaz never went,
Did not.
was the Minden Cultural Centre. Am I even saying it right? Minden Hills Cultural Centre.
Perfect.
And it's like a little pioneer village, as you can see in my background. It's got 5 buildings on the property and then a barn and such. So we've got the Agnes Jameson Gallery, which is their main building where you walk into. It's actually named after the first female county coroner.
Oh,
No, it's pretty cool.
that is.
So yeah, and then you've got the Minden Hills Museum and Heritage Village that you see in the background, Nature's Place, and the public library is there as well.
Cool.
So like I said, the Heritage Village there's got 5 buildings. It's got a barn, obviously, because every pioneer village has a barn.
Exactly. That is the Pioneer Village starter pack, I think.
Yeah.
Have a barn.
Had a barn. Always.
Yes.
But and then it has a few other little like outer buildings, but there was also the Boron House, which is this house here behind me. And then it's got the Stanhope Schoolhouse, which is that building right there. Surprisingly, I managed to get it in this picture.
Nice.
And the Sterling Bank building, which is would be behind this house, like where I'm sitting, type thing.
Okay. I think you can
Right.
kind of just see a little bit of it
No, that's
sneaking by
not
the
it.
house. Oh,
It's not it.
okay.
It's a red bill. It's bright red, man. You can't miss it.
It's not. It's not. Anyways, carry on. Doesn't matter.
You'll
There's
see it.
like the white building
Yeah.
to your
No.
left, but then to your right, there's like you can see a red.
There's like a house, and then there's another outside building, and then it's like on the other side.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. So, but yeah, it's a really cool, unique little place, and it has a lot of history because Minden loves their history.
Oh,
No lie.
yes.
No
Mhm.
lie. But so the Paranormal Seekers, so myself, not Kaz, because she didn't come this time,
I didn't. I don't even know what I was doing.
but it was just 4 of the team. So myself, Ryan, Kathy, and Paula were there, and we investigated. And, like any pioneer village, you never know what you're really walking into. And we walked into a holy crap.
Ooh.
It was really interesting. So we focused on 3 of the buildings. So obviously the Bowen house, the
Mm-hmm.
schoolhouse, and then the bank building.
Nice.
Now, so let's just talk about the Bowen house here since it's in my background. So
Mm.
it is one of Minden's oldest surviving buildings, and it was originally located on 101 acres at the corner of Bob Cajun Road and Highway 35. Now, if you're familiar with the Minden area, that is now where the Home Hardware is.
Oh.
You kind of get the point. It was brought to the museum in 1988, where they added a kitchen to the back for running cooking demonstrations. So this was added.
Oh. Okay.
So the original person who built the house was Fred Haltane, and if I can remember correctly, he was a British Army officer and a political figure in Canada West. So that was kind of like more towards like southwestern Ontario.
Okay.
Right. He was an elected parliament member and all that, and it's just he's got a really interesting history to him. So if you just type in his name, Frederick Haltane, like on Google, like you'll get a whole slew of everything. But his son was a very important figure when it came to establishing Western Canada, so Alberta and Saskatchewan, the provinces.
Mhm.
So it's kind of cool. He's got that kind of like historic, like kind of build Canada background.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyways, so he built the house in the 1860s, and then obtained ownership of the land in 1864. So I'm assuming the house was built probably around 1864. They're not exact, so that's why they say 1860s.
Right.
In 1872, he sold the property to Francis and Mary Boron for $95.
Wow.
I know. Why can't we buy houses for $95?
No kidding.
I saved that today by using my CAA membership on my tires. So, man, I bought a fucking house and 111-acre property.
Yeah.
I hate living in this time. Anyways, the
But
Boron family.
we get running water and toilets, indoor
know.
plumbing. That's
I
the
know.
trade-off.
But sometimes an outhouse sounds a hell of a lot better because then you just shit in a hole. I don't
Yeah.
have to worry about.
I don't know how
cleanliness.
many times you've been to an outhouse. The old cottage we used to rent had an outhouse. No. When you go in there and you see a dock spider the size of your head,
Yeah, I know.
you're like,
Listen,
never mind. I don't need to.
when I was little, we
that
used to
bad.
go to my dad's friend's cottage and they had an outhouse, and that was just like Gooderham. So it's just a little north. And of course, they had an outhouse, and then they had bears. Because I want to go pee in the middle of the night and eat a
Exactly.
bear while I have to shit. I wouldn't even shit in the outhouse; it'd already be outside. Like
Exactly. It would be
Anyway.
all over the bear as it ate me.
Oh my gosh. Anyways, so the Boron family moved from England in the 1860s to Canada. And Francis Boron became Minden's first school teacher in 1861. Now, it said the family had 4 children. Now, here's where this kind of information goes a little left or right, depending on who you want to talk to. Francis Bowron and Mary Bowron were not married. They were related because they were mother and son. The dog.
Whoa! Oh, I'm like, what just happened?
Dog.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because in the 1861 census, Francis is listed as an unmarried school teacher.
Okay.
Now, Thomas Bowron married a Hannah Porter. Now, I should say that Mary is actually Francis's stepmom, not mother. Okay, she's stepmother. So Thomas Bowron married a Hannah Porter, and together they had Francis. They had and a whole bunch of other kids. Okay. So when his first wife died, he remarried. So Francis's father remarried Mary Binks. What a name.
Okay.
And they had 4 children. So Francis ended up with 4 step siblings.
Okay.
So Francis and Mary, there's only a 4-year difference between them. So Mary is 4 years older than Francis.
Okay.
The question is, did they marry when they came to Canada? And that's why they were considered married, because they were together. They're only 4 years, right? And
Francis and Mary?
Yeah, because she's technically his stepmom. She's no relation to him other than she married his father.
Okay, hold on. Francis is a man?
Yes,
I'm so
Francis
confused.
is a man.
Okay, I'm like, what? They weren't allowed to marry back in those days, let alone not be hung for whatever. Okay,
Francis
so
with an
Francis
I.
the man. Okay.
Yeah.
Francis is a male, Mary's quote unquote his stepmom. Okay.
Yes. Because in the 1871 census, it does list them as married. So did they marry, or is it because that they had the same last name because she was married to his father?
Right.
And his father died before they came to Canada. But did the census taker just assume they were married because they shared the last name? It's kind of a mystery. I can't call him up and ask him. He's been dead for.
Or she was like, well, I don't know what else to do. Might as well just stay in the family.
Yeah, because she did have 4 young children.
Yeah.
Right? So, and the youngest would have been about 10 years old by the time they got here.
Okay.
So, that's a good question. I would love to find out because it's kind of a mystery.
But either way, they ended up living together in this house?
They lived together in the house. Yeah.
Okay.
So that is that. Now, in 1988, it was eventually donated to the museum by the Pentney family. And as far as I know, it was they just found it on their property and they figured historical value and they handed it over. And there's still a lot of living Bowron descendants in Minden because they message us all the time asking us what we found.
Oh, that's nice.
And they want to be part of the next investigation, which is really cool. I love when family wants to do that. But
yeah, for sure. And they become trigger objects. Win-win.
Yeah. Very, very true. So people have like reported hearing like weird things in the house, like feeling like they are off. Just a lot of just your typical haunted stuff, like, you know, things moving, strange noises, footsteps, whispering, like disembodied voices, but you can't really make out what they're saying. So yeah, so it was really interesting for us. We did an Estes method session in there and I sat on the floor and it was kind of hit and miss.
Mm-hmm.
We got some interesting paranormal music box like activity in the second floor, like literally like right there.
Mm-hmm.
And it was in a room that we weren't even in. We just set the music box in there and, you know, and we used it to communicate. Ryan felt some weird stuff. It was pretty interesting in that place.
Nice.
You watch the video. We're going to post everything and you read the story too, right? So you'll understand. But that was the last house we visited of the night. I'm just going to go backwards. All right. So then we went to the schoolhouse.
Nice.
So it was built in Minden, which is was in the area in 1898 to replace a smaller structure that had fallen into disrepair. The building continued to be used as a schoolhouse until the 1930s. Jay's home. I can hear him pulling in. Door's locked, so he's probably going to be banging on it. It was originally located on Brady Lake Road in Minden Hills, and it was relocated to the museum in the 1990s after being donated by a man by the name of Bill Bronson, and this happened in 1993.
Nice.
Not only was it a school, it served as a chapel on Sundays and a meeting place for local organizations, also known as farmers.
And a quick question.
Yeah.
In this area, did they just go through the alphabet and they were like Binden, Sinden, Dinden, Hinden, Minden? Like, is that how they named their towns, or what's going on?
I have no idea.
Because we've got Hinden and
I know.
Minden.
I know. Don't ask. I have no idea. That is one thing I can't answer.
Okay.
Anyways, the thing is, the school year. So our school years now go from September to June. Well, their school years lasted from the 1st of April until a week before Christmas, with 2 weeks off in the hottest part of the summer.
Oh.
Yeah.
But then they had like January to basically the end of March off.
Yeah.
Winter time. That's nice.
Well,
no school when there's 10 feet
you're
of
in
snow.
Minden. Who wants to like trudge through like 40 feet of fucking snow to go to school?
Exactly. I was just gonna say you couldn't even get out of your house. That's why.
2025, people have a hard time with 4 centimeters.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, it was called, so the school back then, schoolhouses were numbered. So this one was the number 9 Stanhope Schoolhouse, and the number 1 Hinden. So it was a union school for the 2 townships, and it was purchased in December 1897 from the family of the late James Gannon. So the land was purchased from them. The schoolhouse closed in 1939, and then, of course, the property was then donated.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff about this schoolhouse, which is kind of like really interesting. Like, there's a whole bunch of teachers. So the school apparently temporarily closed on June 13th, 1939, and that was due to the lack of enrollment. Over the years, the population moved away because now you're in the middle of fucking nowhere and nobody wants to work there anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And by 1939, only 3 students were in that school.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then after that, it just never reopened again.
Oh.
Yeah. So it then it was then used as a cottage for many years, and then it just fell into neglect. But yeah, so it's really interesting. And so here's a really sad story from the school. Pardon me. So John James Gannon, who was the original owner, James, his son, at age 7, went out onto Brady Lake with his cousins, Rachel and Barbara. And unfortunately, he drowned.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So that was on May 16th, 1887. They all piled in a canoe and paddled away. They don't know if the canoe was unsound, but it began to take on water. And they tried to get to shore, but none of them could swim.
Oh, man.
And they don't know if the bodies were ever recovered, which is sad. So yeah,
that is sad.
But that schoolhouse proved to be active as well. We got a lot of interesting responses, and we got a lot of SLS camera stuff.
Oh, like that.
It was interesting, especially for school. Again, you got to watch the video because it's hard to explain and the story to read exactly what happened. But definitely there's something there. Now, it could be one of the many teachers. Could be the land. Could be a previous owner. Could be somebody who stayed there as at a cottage. I don't know.
Right. Well, that's cool, though.
It is cool. But like I said, there are tons of teachers. Like, I was surprised at how many teachers I could find that actually, work there. Because usually they're just school teachers. They really don't, especially if they were single women, right?
Absolutely.
So yeah. But last on the list of buildings that we visited was the Sterling Bank. Now, this is a really tiny building, like super tiny. So this bait, oh my Lord, it's a long day and it's Monday. Anyways, this dates back to the early 1900s. It was Minden's very first bank. And it was established by a man by the name of J.H. Delamere in 1895. In July of 1907, the Sterling Bank of Canada purchased a property at the corner of Newcastle Street and Bobcaygeon Road and built this iconic red building because, it just stood out. I don't know, whatever. J.H. Delamere was hired as the bank manager, and he would stay on until it closed in 1911.
Oh, wow.
It then reopened in 1919 and then was sold again in 1925 to the Standard Bank of Canada, which would eventually become CIBC.
Oh.
Yeah. By 1958, a larger bank building was needed, obviously, because this was just so tiny and you can't keep much in there. And it was moved to Peck Street. So the original building was moved to Peck Street to house the public library, which again, this building is really small. It's probably like the size of my bedroom here.
Oh, wow.
And then it was eventually relocated to the museum grounds, becoming the museum's first historic building. So that was really interesting. Now, this building, this bank didn't just see people taking out their money. It also saw somebody stealing their money.
Oh, okay.
So the first bank robbery occurred at the bank in 1946.
The first one. Okay.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I didn't even know there was a second. Anyways, so no guns were involved. Entry was gained through a back window. An axe was used to hack through the wood and plaster walls to get into the vault, which contained a large steel safe and safety deposit boxes. 30 of the boxes containing bonds, personal papers, and jewelry worth approximately $150,000 were taken. A few months later, the bonds and papers were found in Toronto, scattered all over the place.
They hadn't even tried to cash them in.
And the jewelry was never recovered, and no arrests were ever made.
Wow.
It's a bit of mystery.
I was going to ask if there was a vault with it being that small, but I guess so.
Yeah. But this little tiny building proved to be insanely active to the point that we were questioning what the heck was going on.
Oh, really?
All I saw a shadow, and we couldn't recreate it. We thought it might have been a car. Wasn't a car. We have, and it's not just set up as a bank. It's kind of like they've got artifacts of like a bunch of stuff in there. They got a little war area with a uniform and stuff, and then they have Agnes's area where they showcase how she was the first female coroner and all that kind of stuff. So her stuff is in there as well.
Okay.
So by the military stuff, we captured a stick figure on the SLS that kind of was indicating, and we were asking it is this your stuff? Can you point to where your stuff is? And it kind of responds that way. So that's really cool.
Yeah.
Paranormal music box was going off like crazy by Agnes's stuff. So we were wondering if maybe Agnes was there. It's all that kind of stuff. And this is where Ryan's video cameras just went kaput. Not even 6 minutes of filming and they would die.
Wow.
Yeah, we couldn't keep any recordings going. It was insane. I loved it.
That's amazing.
But
then we for sure need to go back.
I know. Well, we're trying to plan a public event that's going to incorporate this location and the next location.
Right.
So that is the Dominion. Dominion is the next, but this right here that we just talked about was the Minden Hills Cultural Centre. So people, go visit. Amazing. Now, I know we talked about Dominion prior, but we're going to go over it again. Because the Dominion Hotel is just down the street. It's a 5-minute walk. And it's never... Yeah, that's it.
Now that I'm on video. Yeah.
But yeah, so Dominion Hotel. We'll just talk about
Basically, you could stay at the hotel, walk down to the Pioneer Village, do your
Yes.
stuff there, come back, stay in the hotel, and eat
Yeah.
there because they are also a restaurant.
It's good. Ooh,
Was really good.
fun. Anyways, so this historic inn was built in 1865. And just like it's located right in the center of town, right smack dab in the little
Yep.
tiny town of Minden, the downtown.
Yes.
So it was originally founded by a man by the name of Daniel Buck, with a B. He is one of the earliest settlers in the area, and apparently one of the most colorful. I would have loved to meet these people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think it still has
yeah,
a very colorful owner.
it does. Sean is great. So it originally started as a small log shanty building. And yeah, it just was meant to house the travelers and the likes of people who were working in Minden at the time. Literally, it had a tavern. Come on, it was great. One-stop shop, like any old hotel back in the day. Daniel Buck married Mary Jeanette Jackson, and together they had 7 children. Like all old towns, Minden's downtown completely had to be rebuilt after it burned down. What a surprise.
Yes.
They just
I
all
mean-
burned down because they're all made of wood. And that happened in 1879.
Wow.
But don't worry, it's burned down again in 1890.
I was waiting for the second one because there's typically at least 2 fires. Just when
Always.
everyone's rebuilt, it's like,
Literally.
oh, let's celebrate our
11
hard
years.
work and throw our cigarette butts down.
11 years later, July 29th, 1890, it burned down for a second time.
Oh gosh.
That one has beliefs that it started in a pile of old oil rags at the back of the Curry Pharmacy building.
Oh.
So, with no fire department, because we're talking the 1890s, residents used buckets of water to douse the buildings on the east side of Main Street and were able to contain the fire to the west. Good job.
Yeah.
So the doctor's office, pharmacy, and town library, which was apparently the same building, Noyce's general store, yes, his name was Noyce,
Nice.
Dominion Hotel, the post office, Mr. Delamere's private bank, so his first bank, and the Echo newspaper and printing office were all destroyed.
Yikes.
Only one injury was reported, and that was from Dr. Curry, who jumped from his roof to escape the flames.
Oh. Luckily, he's a doctor and could fix himself.
Yeah, too bad he started the fire.
Yeah.
Anyway. Following the fire, Daniel Buck was done, and a man by the name of John Thompson became the new owner of the Dominion House and built the structure that now stands today. So the one that you see behind Kaz there, James Thompson built that.
This one.
And he renamed it the Dominion Hotel and Tavern. So yeah, fun times. But like any hotel with a bar, people got drunk and did stupid shit.
Always.
So I'm trying to find my thing here. But anyways, in 1892, we'll get to the stupid shit in a few seconds. It states that the hotel proprietor is now a man by the name of Joseph Henry. It's either Pym or Pym. It's Pym, depending. I don't know wherever he was from. So he then owned it. And then eventually, it would make its way to our current owner, Sean, who has done a great job at trying to restore it.
Yeah.
In fact, there was a shootout in the street in front of this hotel.
What?
Because men and booze and guns, someone's got to assert their dominance somehow. I don't know. Anyways.
I
And
didn't know that.
that happened in the 1870s.
Oh,
So
interesting.
the two hotel owners went out on the street, and they'd been arguing and drinking. And I'm not sure which hotel owner this is. If this is James Thompson, because I don't think it's Daniel Buck, but it could. Who knows? But I don't think it is. I think it's this James Thompson guy, or whoever was in between, or even a pimp. I don't even know, because it doesn't really say who when they started to own. But anyways, so two hotel owners went out in the middle of the street after they'd been drinking and they started arguing. The other hotel owner was from Gooderham. Huh, surprise, I just mentioned that. And he was shot in the stomach.
Ooh.
As he laid on his back in the middle of the street, bleeding profusely, he told onlookers to get him to his carriage because he didn't want to die in a terrible place like Minden.
That's great. I like that.
Then, if you went into the bar room in the Dominion Hotel in the 1870s, the bartender would collect your bullets out of your gun and give them back to you when you left.
Well, it stands to reason. I could see why they would do that.
That's your first coat check, except it was a gun check. Anyways, that's a little briefing of the Dominion.
Nice.
I don't have any information on James Thompson. I have some information on Joseph Henry Pym. When Pym did die, his brother John, it appears that John has took over the hotel upon the death of his brother. His brother died in 1892, so like shortly after of pleurisy or whatever the hell it is. But John Pym didn't have a great time either, because he died in 1913 of suicidal drowning.
Mm-hmm. What? Suicidal drowning?
Yes.
Oh.
I don't know how people just drown themselves like that.
Well, unless you're going to tie like a rock to your feet and throw it in and off you go.
Or maybe you just don't know how to swim and you just sink to the bottom and then...
Yeah, maybe they meant like accidental drowning.
Maybe, but it says suicidal drowning.
Suicidal drowning.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So, I don't know, but we investigated the Dominion Hotel on August 4th of the same year.
Yes.
And you know what? And it was because of the worker at this place here at the Minden Hills Cultural Centre kind of gave us a little tip.
Mm.
Yeah. So that was all thanks to him. We got to meet Sean and learn about the Dominion and its inhabitants that you can't see. Well,
yeah.
But yeah,
honestly, it was lovely. Sean was so lovely.
He is. He's
like,
such a
so welcoming. Person. Yes.
I know. He's the type of host that you always want to come across when you come into these small little towns with these little hotels, because he has a vast knowledge of history. And he is like a gem in himself.
And he embraces the fact that the hotel is potentially haunted. Mm-hmm. And doesn't shy away from it. He doesn't overly advertise it because, you know, as a business owner, you got to kind of
pick and choose.
Exactly. Yeah. But he's like, we've had so many instances where people have been like, oh, who was the woman in our room? Or can you tell the people to stop running around upstairs? And he's like, there is no upstairs.
Why is there a party going on in the attic?
Yeah, exactly. So he's like, we just have to be like, oh, I don't know. Meanwhile, they're like,
we had a very interesting night there because the bathtub in the one room was just like super.
Yeah, like it sort of started to happen almost right away because there's, I don't know what the room's called. It's the big on like suite.
Like the honeymoon suite. We'll call
yes,
it.
I was just gonna say that. So it has the nice bed and the big sitting area, and then obviously your washroom. And I don't even know. Someone put a REM pod down or something, and it just went berserk. And then we brought in a second one that went berserk. And there's nothing in there. There's no electrical wiring around a tub. Like there was nothing. And we had other devices we were trying to find and nothing. And Sean came up and was like, Yeah, no, we don't tend to have electrical wiring in and around the
Yeah, in
water.
the water. Yeah.
Exactly. So, like, it was very, very strange.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
it
Like,
was like going off and on command as well, too. It was like
yeah.
responding to us. And that's when it's really always interesting. And when we had the two, they were going on and off together,
Hmm.
which is always like, because one, you know, okay, we could maybe say it's just coincidence that when we're like, can you stop that? And it stops and whatever. But when you have two that do it, you're like, I don't have an knowledge.
Yeah.
And then we had the stick figure on the SLS camera
Hmm.
in the room where people had seen someone. We had, I think, REM pod activity in that other room that had the two beds.
Yep.
Basically, everywhere we went.
Yeah.
Up, remember then up in the attic?
Yeah. Yeah. See, maybe we should
Oh,
preface this. So this is like not even 7 days or so after we got back
yeah.
from Hinsdale.
Mm-hmm.
And we think something may have joined us that evening from Hinsdale
Yeah.
because it was very clear on a few things. And
Yeah.
like that was during Ryan's Estes method upstairs. And like we have the video of that, so you can see that. You can see how that played out because we were like, "Whoa, no, we're not done."
Yeah. It started getting really like dark, and we're like, uh-oh.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not sure we know where this is going, but
This is not. This is not.
mhm.
Something that we think is from here. This is just somebody who's like, "Yo, man, I still have a voice.
Yeah.
I don't care how far away you are."
And the attic part, didn't that used to be like a flop room?
Yeah,
So people like weary travelers, men, um, could go and it's just a big open room and you literally flopped down. That's why it's called a flop
yeah,
room. So you would have maybe a straw tick, which is just literally an oversized pillow
yeah,
case stuffed with straw. That might be it. I don't even know that they had that. And you'd be in there, you could either be yourself or with 20 other people. It depends how many.
yeah. I
And
think so.
it
I
was,
think it was like that. And then I think it
yeah,
might have been staff quarters too at once. I think I'd
yeah,
have
it
to
was a
go back to
weird,
my
it
notes.
was full of like storagey stuff.
Mhm.
But I know Jay and I was sitting in there for a while and it just was like, for me, I'm like, I don't think I should be in here.
Yeah,
Like, you know, when as a female, sometimes when you walk into a room and it's kind of all men, you're like, oh yeah, I'm just gonna back
yeah.
out slowly.
Now
That's how I felt.
there's also reports of a little girl there, and Daniel Buck, so
Yeah.
the original owner, he did have a daughter named Marianne who passed away at approximately 2.5, 3 years of age. And
Mm-hmm.
Allison had an encounter with this girl, and a lot of people have said they've heard her and seen her. So, is it Marianne? Possibly.
Yeah.
Someone else? Maybe. I don't know. But there's definitely a little girl there for sure.
Now, is there also the woman who people would see in the window up there and they would sometimes call? I know Sean was saying, I can't remember if it was the little girl or woman. People in the street would see someone in that window,
Mhm.
in the upper window, and would call the police or do whatever, and then they would go there and Sean's like, no one's up here. Like no one can be up here. The doors
Yeah,
are all
that was like on the
locked.
third floor. Like they would,
Yeah.
see people up there and be like, "You can't stay up there," and trying to be like, "There's nobody up there. It's storage.
Mm-hmm.
Go to take a look." Like the storage.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
know
It
what
was
the
a
yeah,
interesting place up
and the
there.
front room, one of the front rooms there, with the single bed, a lot of people who stay there have said they've woken up and felt like a grandmotherly,
Mm-hmm.
presence in the room, and it was kind of comforting, not scary, but they could feel like there was that type of energy in there. So very
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
Yeah, like it really was.
Hmm.
It was one of those places that you definitely want to stay over because you're like, I could be I felt like we could have been there even longer than we
Oh yeah.
were
Oh yeah.
because we were like, okay, well, this hasn't finished doing what it's doing, and now we've got stick figures down the hallway and then stuff going on upstairs, and it's like You want to stay everywhere and do everything, but
but well, maybe we'll have to
Yeah.
go back and have a sleepover.
I guess so.
Yeah. Hey,
Maybe after we've done, here's just a thought. We do a public event here. So we all come, we eat, we go down to the Pioneer Village, do a thing there, come back, and then investigate the hotel.
did you read my
And
freaking
then
notes? Because that's
sleep
exactly
it.
what I have written down that I sent to them. Really?
Okay. Well, there we go.
Well, it's in the works,
I'm-
people.
Yes, I love that. I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, me too.
2 thumbs up. Give me. Oh, no, I was hoping I would get.
Mine doesn't do it, so it's not
No,
gonna do
didn't
it.
do it today. We never know what's going to happen here.
It's always a surprise.
Nope. Okay. Okay. No, I don't know. I don't know what sets it off.
I don't know
Nothing.
either. Oh my god.
Just
But
me
anyway.
being mental right now.
It's okay. It's still Monday. And tomorrow's a holiday because, yeah, whatever. But yeah, anyways, that's Minden. And if you
Minden.
have ever been to Minden and know of a different place or have visited one of these 2 places and have had your own experiences, we'd love to hear about it. You
Mhm.
can email us at paranormalpodcast@gmail.com. So PAREHNORMAL podcast@gmail.com. Or you can send us your stuff on Facebook or Instagram, or we're on TikTok. You can send that message there too. But yeah, that's Minden. And it's a place
Yeah,
to visit. A great staycation.
absolutely.
But yes. But anyways, before we
2
leave,
thumbs up.
you're trying so hard. But anyways, quick note before we sign off. This will be our last podcast for a little bit because we're going on vacation.
To the yeah.
So we will be taking a little vacation. You again. This is going to be great.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we will be taking a few weeks off. We are going to start recording again at the end of July. So you will have brand new content and podcast topics and our beautiful faces the first week of August.
Almost. Maybe
Yes.
with a thumbs up from my phone.
Yes,
I did it! Yes! There it goes.
Oh my God.
It only took me. Wait, let's see if I can do it again. Oh,
No.
the one and done? No, I did it! There it is.
Oh, fuck. Oh my God. I'm just going to start calling you Sparkles.
I know. So you just have to have a seizure with your thumbs up and it works. Oh, 3. I keep going. Multiple spasm things.
Oh my God.
Fireworks. That's for Canada Day, people.
There you go.
Happy Canada Day.
Jay's on the phone. Oh my God. 4 now. It's the 4th of July. Oh my
Oh
God.
my gosh.
We're done with this.
Yes.
We need vacation. Anyways.
We do.
If you got a topic, you think that's great, then that Jay's on the phone and he's talking loud. You've got a topic for our new one, like our new episodes coming in August and stuff, send it to us. We love your topics. See, I can't even do it because I'm on a freaking
Exactly. Womp womp.
just sucks. Anyways, that's gonna be a great face. All right, have a great July, everyone, and we will talk to you soon. Stay tuned for some more crazy topics and some really cool adventures because we're teaming up with someone to go on a really cool adventure. So you're just gonna thumbs up. Oh my God. Anyways. Have a great July, everybody. All right.
Bye.
When I say bye.
Oh, I did it.